Public conversations today often feel dominated by volume and fury rather than calm analysis. In online forums and on social media, we can hardly go 5 minutes without a new episode of outrage, as one psychologist puts it. This glut of anger has become a kind of currency. Those who shout the loudest and most furiously seem to win the spotlight. Underlying this shift is a crisis of shared reality. Social analysts describe a kind of truth decay, rising disagreement about basic facts, a blurring of opinion and evidence, and growing distrust in traditional authorities. In such a fragmented information environment, impassioned outrage often feels more persuasive than cool reasoning. When facts no longer unite us, raw emotion becomes the lingua franca of debate, and being outraged starts to seem wiser than being quiet. In this video, I'll explore why outrage now passes for intelligence. We'll look at how our brains reward anger, how social media fuels it, and how tribalism and anti-intellectualism have made shouting louder than thinking. So let's get into it. Studies show that expressing moral outrage actually triggers the brain's reward circuitry. When people publicly condemn a perceived wrong, their brains release dopamine, the same feel-good chemical that fuels motivation. In short, punishing a miscreant gives us a neurochemical high. Modern platforms amplify this effect. Social media delivers praise, likes, shares, comments for angry posts at unpredictable intervals, creating a variable reinforcement schedule, one of the most addictive psychological patterns known. Every like or retweet on a rant becomes a random reward that cements the rage habit. As one observer notes, online moral outrage becomes self-reinforcing. Angry posts draw praise, which in turn encourages even more shouting. Research confirms this. Emotionally charged, morally outraged content receives especially high levels of engagement. Put simply, outrage gets rewarded. And the emotional contagion doesn't stop with the original poster. Classic experiments show that anger spreads from person to person online. In one study, researchers manipulated users' news feeds. Some saw mostly positive posts, others mostly negative. The results? Those shown fewer positive posts ended up writing fewer positive ones themselves, and more negative ones. The authors concluded that emotional states can be transferred to others via emotional contagion, even without face-to-face cues. In practice, this means that every angry post makes readers more prone to anger, setting off a chain reaction. Anger travels like a virus through our networks. Once one person blows up, others catch fire. We see this unfold constantly in daily life. A popular figure posts an angry rant about a political issue, sparking a flood of similar responses from followers. Suddenly, social media is flooded with fiery reactions, each one fueling the next. People looking for connection or an outlet for their own frustration often get swept up in the wave of collective outrage. Even passively scrolling through your feed can trigger irritation. Seeing others argue or condemn, we feel the urge to jump in, perpetuating the cycle. This doesn't only happen in public debates, it happens with personal issues too. A friend posts a furious comment about a TV show, and suddenly you're chiming in with your own hot take, amplifying the collective outrage. Even in everyday conversations, at work or with family, the pattern holds. Someone shares a story about an injustice or unfairness they've experienced, and others chime in with their own frustrations, escalating the emotional temperature. These emotional exchanges ripple outward, triggering similar reactions in others. In a way, we're all walking around with emotional tinderboxes, ready to be lit. And there's one major factor accelerating this cycle exponentially. Technology has long been seen as a double-edged sword by thinkers like Friedrich Nietzsche, Aldous Huxley, Ray Bradbury, and George Orwell. They warned that technological power, without wisdom, could be weaponized. And today, one of the most dangerous forms it has taken is the algorithm. Algorithms and incentives have turbocharged the human impulses that make anger so addictive. Social media companies, in their pursuit of engagement, have discovered that nothing captures attention like conflict. Their algorithms are designed to amplify that effect, reshaping our world in the process. Studies show that these algorithms systematically favor emotional and divisive content. Why? Because people engage with it more. One study of Twitter's engagement-based feed found that the algorithmically curated timeline contained significantly more anger. 62% of the political tweets it surfaced expressed outrage, compared to 52% in a neutral chronological feed. Likewise, researchers observing a popular short video platform found that its algorithm progressively pushed young users toward content focused on anger and blame. This hateful material didn't just appear, it multiplied, growing fourfold in just a few days. The angrier the content, the more the algorithm promoted it, creating a feedback loop of escalating rage. Even well-intended tweaks can backfire. Facebook's decision to prioritize meaningful interactions by elevating posts with more comments and reactions ended up promoting content attacking political opponents. Why? Because outrage sparks debate, and debate boosts engagement. The result is a perverse incentive structure. Angrily denouncing an enemy earns you attention and approval. One study found that every additional moral or emotional word in a tweet increased its spread by 15-20%. The more righteously angry you sound, the more clicks, shares, and validation you receive. This creates a powerful alignment between human psychology and platform design. The sights and sounds of outrage, all caps, rage emojis, inflammatory language, disrupt our attention and demand a reaction. As one writer put it, social networks are architected to grab your individual attention by exploiting exactly this mechanism. The intermittent likes, comments, and shares function like a slot machine, a reinforcement schedule known to be highly addictive. The algorithms push us deeper into outrage, encouraging more extreme reactions, more tribalism, and more division. The cycle feeds itself, drawing us in moment by moment. We may tell ourselves that we're using social media to stay informed or engage meaningfully, but the platforms are designed to keep us hooked on outrage at the expense of real, thoughtful discourse. This shift has turned outrage into a form of social currency where displaying anger isn't about addressing an issue, it's something more. Outrage has become that very kind of social currency. Public displays of anger signal allegiance to a cause and instantly raise one's status within like-minded circles. This is what's often called virtue signaling, using moral indignation not to solve problems, but to showcase one's righteousness. As one analyst put it, these outbursts are public expressions, designed to demonstrate a person's moral commitment to good. Social media supercharges this dynamic. When a public figure or peer denounces some offense, their followers rally in solidarity. We're on the same team. But often, the content of the outrage matters less than the act of signaling itself. As social psychologists observe, online political speech is now less about persuasion than about signaling loyalty to a group. A furious post isn't about winning a debate, it's a tribal gesture. It says, "I belong." It echoes Orwell's 1984, where loyalty to the party is demonstrated through daily rituals of hatred. The difference is, today's outrage isn't enforced from above. It's driven from below, by users and algorithms alike. Studies show that in-group identification strengthens cohesion and self-esteem, while out-groups are instinctively seen as threats. Whether in politics, culture, or fandom, condemning outsiders is a way to prove loyalty to your side. This is how nuance dies. Cool-headed analysis is reframed as cowardice or betrayal. As one commentator noted, online discourse often reduces opposing views to cartoon villains. Subtlety is out, shouting is in. Anger becomes a badge of identity, more about belonging than understanding. Another driver of the outrage epidemic is a cultural drift toward anti-intellectualism, the rejection of expertise and thoughtful analysis in favor of raw emotion. In recent years, trust in experts has collapsed. Reason is seen as cold and elitist, while gut instinct is hailed as brave and authentic. Classic studies of anti-intellectualism note how emotion is often framed as warm and good, while rational thought is dismissed as cold and irrelevant. In today's world, if something feels right, it is right. Evidence be damned. Expertise is only valued if it delivers instant results. As one historian put it, knowledge is now often seen as worthless unless it leads directly to material gain. This mindset favors slogans over substance. Shouting, "How can you still believe that?" often drowns out a careful, qualified explanation. Quiet knowledge is seen as smug. Loud certainty feels brave. This emotionalism crowds out analysis, and the loudest voice, not the wisest, wins. In this landscape, critical thinking becomes suspect. Civility is equated with weakness, and social media only accelerates this shift. Platforms reward short, punchy, emotionally loaded content, not slow, reasoned thought. The result is a cultural climate where outrage trumps understanding. Psychologist Christopher Paul has warned that when societies begin to value emotion over reason, they become more vulnerable to manipulation. In such a culture, facts only matter if they serve the tribe. Which leads to one condition that has been secretly eating away our civilization, which I will discuss now. There was a time when people at least started with the same set of facts, watching the same news, reading the same paper. That era is over. Today, we live in fragmented reality bubbles, each with its own version of truth. In this fractured media landscape, debates devolve into shouting matches. Because truth itself is now contested, anger becomes the currency of influence. We've entered a post-truth age where emotion routinely overrules evidence. Each group believes its own facts, and each act of outrage helps manufacture its own reality. The consequences are serious. When everything is outrageous, then nothing is. We become numb. Like a drug that needs a stronger dose to feel anything, outrage escalates until only the most extreme voices break through. As one neuroscientist warns, we're in a race to the bottom, where political discourse, conspiracy theories, and moral panics compete for clicks. In this environment, reasoned intelligence is not rewarded. Outrage is. The smartest people in the room are now often the loudest performers, the ones who can ignite the most fury, not the ones who make the most sense. Anyways, we've traced how outrage is now louder than intelligence, fueled by tribalism, performance, emotion, and algorithms. But if we understand how this machine works, how it feeds on our psychology, we can start to resist. By slowing down, seeking truth over noise, and valuing reason over reflex, we can begin to reclaim real conversation. That's it for today. See you in the next one.